Thanks, Mikla. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Wednesday webinar series. Today, we are going to look into Office 365 security features and what are the best practices or recommendations for improving the overall security of your organization. Office 365, we all know as being an industry standard for productivity applications, right? But what many of us might not know that Office 365 also provides built-in fundamental management and security capabilities, which can help protect your company data as your organization embraces mobility and the cloud. So every organization today faces these four new challenges as we move to the cloud. The first one being new types of users. So now we have workers, we have outside collaborators, other contributors who all need access. Everybody needs access to your company information, and that can be a challenge. New locations and devices. Nowadays, people like to work from home. Many organizations have a BYOD environment, bring your own device environment, but the users are allowed to get their own devices at work. So as users get more mobile, they need to access the Office 365 resources from different locations and different devices. So we need to have some strategies in place which take care of those scenarios. Security, of course, we need to maintain security since the information needs to be shared more freely inside and outside your organization. We have to maintain security, and that is the biggest challenge. And the last one, let's not forget the bad guys out there who constantly try to attack our resources. So that you need to constantly reassess and redefine our security posture based on a dynamic and changing threat landscape out there, right? So these are the four major challenges that all the organizations are facing as we're becoming more mobile, as we're moving to the cloud. We are facing these kinds of challenges. And all these challenges or all these changes basically surface a need to surround your Office 365 deployment with a robust management and certain security capabilities, right? So that we can securely deliver these Office 365 and your other cloud applications on any device, anywhere, at the same time safeguarding our critical corporate assets, right? So I'm going to give you certain recommendations which are provided by Microsoft as well as Cloud9. The first one being we will look into your Microsoft Secure Score. I'll talk about all these points as we move along the presentation. But we're going to look into the Microsoft Secure Score. We will see how to set up audit logging in Office 365. We will talk about how we can enable certain threat management policies. We're going to talk about a new feature called Cloud App Security, which Microsoft has come up with. And of course, the main and the most important one of all of them would be Active Directory identity protection. We'll talk about how we can set up risky sign-ins, conditional access policies in Active Directory in Office 365. So without any further ado, let's start off with the first recommendation, and that's to check your Secure Score. Now, Secure Score or Microsoft Secure Score, basically it analyzes your Office 365 organization's security based on your regular activities and your security settings and assigns you a score. Okay, so let's think of it like a credit score that we have, but this one for your security. Yeah, I'm just gonna directly show you how it looks like. So this is the securescore.microsoft.com. This is the portal. Now, as you can see here, there is a secure score that has been provided for my organization, and it's 114 out of 364 is what is the score that my organization has, and it depends on the So basically, this is how it works. Secure Score basically figures out what Office 365 services you're using, like OneDrive or SharePoint or Exchange Online. And then it looks at your settings and activities and then compares them to a baseline that is established by Microsoft. So then you will get a score based on how aligned you are with the best security practices. You can even see here there is a compare your score chart which is provided. So this is my organization score. Then for the same kind of similar kinds of tenants, the average Office 365 security score is 45, and overall Office 365 average score is about 30. So I'm guessing we are doing pretty good here with 114. The maximum score being 470 that you can get. If you want to improve your score, there is a list of action queue over here. So you can review the action queue to see what you can do to help increase security and reduce the risks. You can expand any one, but so like for example over here you see this action is to enable MFA or multi-factor authentication for all your users. As you expand it, you get a short summary here, and you can always click on learn more, where we come to know what you're about to do and how will it be impacting your users. And then when it directly gives you a link to go into the place where I can basically start setting up multi-factor authentication, right? We'll just give it a second to load. Right, so this is our AD with the list of all our users, and I can directly go in and set up or configure my multi-factor authentication settings here. So once I do that, so I don't know if you guys saw this, this even shows how much score am I going to get, what is the score right now, and how much maximum score that I can get if I set up MFA for all my users. I can get a maximum of 30 points or 30 score in my secure score thing. To see the impacts of all these actions on your organization's security, you can go into the other tab, which is the Score Analyzer. This basically gives you all the data points. You can click on any one particular data point, and that you can see a breakdown of your score for that particular day. That's on August 13, 2018. You can see the breakdown. And you can basically scroll down to see which controls were enabled and how many points you earned that day for each of the controls that you actually enabled on that particular day. So this is really cool. What is the use of this? Many people might think of that. So for me, it's like using the secure score. It helps us or it helps you to increase your organization's security by encouraging you to use some of these built-in security features in Office 365, right? So many of these security features you might have already purchased, or many of them you might not even know that exist. So this gives you a nice list of actions that you probably can take slowly and steadily so that you can build the security of your organization over time. The first recommendation is to go check your secure score and try enabling as many activities or as many actions as you can to improve your score. This will really help secure your environment a lot. The next thing is to turn on audit logging. So basically, suppose say I want to find out if a user viewed a specific document, or say a user purged a particular item in his mailbox. If I want to know that, if something went wrong, if I want to catch hold of someone, or if I want to audit it, we can always go into Office 365 Security and the Compliance Center and search for a unified audit log to view all the users and administrator activities within your organization. So let me just bring up the screen for that. Okay, so this is your audit log search screen. This is how it looks. As you can see here under activities, you can click the drop-down list to display the activities that you can search for. Okay, so the user and admin activities here are organized into different groups of related activities. You can select any specific activity, or you can click on the group name to select all the activities in that particular group. After you run the search, only, of course, only the audit log entries for the activities that you have selected will be displayed, right? So let me select, say, deleted files. So I want to know if I have deleted any particular files. The start date and the end date, as you can see, the last 7 days are selected by default. But you can select the date and time range that suits your purpose. Just one thing to keep in mind would be that this time is in UTC format. So it's the universal time format. So just keep that in mind while you're setting it. And also that the maximum date range that you can keep between the start and the end date is not more than 90 days. So you're supposed to do that. I'm going to leave it to the last 7 days. You can select a user, or you can even select groups of users that you're set up in your AD. I'm going to select myself. So I'm basically the file, folder, or site is basically if I know which particular file or which particular folder I might have deleted, I can put that in so that the search will only, it filters on that particular file or folder. I'm going to leave it empty. That way it will just give a list of all the files, folders that this particular user or myself I have deleted in the last 7 days. If I just click on search, this let's give it a second to load. Oh, seems I've deleted quite a few things. Okay, so you see, you get an overview of things that I've deleted, the document, and if I click on it, I get a much more detailed version as to where was that particular file located, where did I delete it from, and how did I delete it, what IP address was that, what did I log in from, what time it was, etc., etc. You can always get in more information from as to what it has done. This basically gives you a very good, this is a pretty good tool to log stuff and get and view the activities that a particular user is undergoing in your organization. So we can turn on audit logging. That will be really helpful for you to audit things in your organization. The third thing would be, the third thing would be to configure threat management. So you can tune certain threat management policies in Office 365. Like you can see in the photo here, and I can also bring up the main screen. Like you can see here, there are four different options. One is ATP anti-phishing, or advanced threat protection anti-phishing. By default, of course, Office 365 includes certain built-in features that help protect your users for phishing attacks. But you can set up this anti-phishing policies to increase this protection. For example, you can refine certain settings to better detect and prevent spoofing attacks on your user mailboxes or something like that. Anti-spam is another feature which you can set up. This basically protects your organization from emails, basically spam emails. And if I just go into here, so this is a basic standard setting that we have set up for our organization, wherein any spam emails that come in are automatically moved to the junk email folder for that particular user. So you can set up these kind of things. You can also have custom rules which you can set up. You can create new policies. You can set them up, and your mailboxes will behave accordingly. In that case, the third thing being DKIM, or domain keys identified mail. So you can set up these signatures on your domain so that the recipients know that the email messages are actually coming from users within your organization. So this can be a good feature that you can set up. And last thing being anti-malware engine. Basically, this protects your organization or organization's emails from malware, right? So it will detect and take certain actions if Office 365 detects any malware or any malware payload in your emails that are sent to your users or sent by your users. So you can set up these 4 different policies under threat protection. So this is again under Security and Compliance Center in Office 365 under threat management. You can set up certain policies based on your business requirements, of course. The next thing is the new feature for cloud app security. You can connect Office 365 to cloud app security. Uh, so yeah, so basically, moving to the cloud, like I've been talking for a while now. So moving to the cloud increases flexibility for your employees, as well as it helps us reduce some IT costs. But we all know that it also introduces new challenges and new complexities for keeping your organization secure, right? So to be able to get a full benefit of all your cloud applications, the IT team needs to always find the right balance for supporting access to these applications, at the same time protect your critical data, right? So you can use this cloud app security feature in Office 365, which helps you set up policies based on your business needs to track certain anomalous activities and act on it. We can set up alerts with Office with the cloud app security so that admins can review unusual or risky user activities, such as downloading large amounts of data or multiple failed sign-in attempts or sign-ins from unknown or dangerous IP addresses. So you can set up certain policies that way. Let me just show you how it works. This is the Cloud App Security portal, and as you can see, there are many templates available here. Like for example, there's a template for high upload volume, right? So basically, this will alert your admins when a new app is discovered whose total daily upload traffic is more than 500 MB. They can set the severity of that particular policy and so on and so forth. So Microsoft does provide you a lot of built-in templates which you can use. Of course, you can customize them, and you can also build your own templates if need be. That's Cloud App Security feature, which is, and of course, you can create alerts. So like you see that the system alert, which we have received from Microsoft with the high severity, you can set up alerts, and you can select the group of users which get these alerts so that they can act on it or react to that particular problem. The last one, and probably the one of the most important features out there, is enabling Azure Active Directory identity protection. For this, so for having identity protection, first of all, there's a requirement that you need to have Azure AD Premium 2 subscription with you. But basically, what Azure Active Directory identity protection is that with this we are able to get a consolidated view to examine suspicious user activities, which is detected using a machine learning algorithm with signals such as if there are any brute force attacks on your particular account, or that if your credentials have been leaked, or if there are sign-ins from unfamiliar locations. So these kind of things can be picked up by identity protection machine learning algorithms out there. This, of course, will help you in improving your security posture of your organization by acting on these customized list of configurations and vulnerabilities in your organization, right? Of course, which can also help us in setting up certain different policies so that we know basically what are the vulnerabilities in our organization, and we can start setting up those policies either via the secure score portal or through threat management policies, or we can set up certain other configuration policies, like you can see here that you can set up multi-factor authentication or risky sign-ins and so on and so forth. This is the dashboard of your or the overview page of your Azure AD identity protection on your Azure portal. This gives you 3 reports. Basically, it gives you the users that are flagged for risks. It gives you the risky events that occurred, and it also gives you the vulnerabilities in your organization. Like you see, there are about 143 users which still need multi-factor authentication enabled on their accounts in our organization. You also see certain settings on the left-hand side pane, where you see settings for configuring your security policies, alerts or notifications, or setting up MFA or multi-factor authentication registration. That's what you can set up. Let's dive in a little bit. Let's get into the users flagged for risks. So Azure Active Directory, basically it detects the risk events in real time. Each risk event that has been detected for a sign in of a user, it contributes to a concept in the Azure world called risky sign-ins. So basically, a risky sign-in is nothing but it's an indicator for a sign-in attempt that might not have been performed by a legitimate owner of a user account. Okay, a user is flagged for risks. This is an indicator that that particular user account might have been compromised, right? So if I just, so this is basically a list of all the users who probably might have been compromised. Uh, so for example, let's see this particular user in an organization. Mostly, he has three risk events associated to his user profile. Dive in a little bit further, I get a list of all those three risky events, out of which one is of medium severity and two have been closed. So this one is yesterday. There was a sign in from an unfamiliar location. So if I just type in, I can see that the sign in was from a new location. This was based on the user's past login history. So probably Murli went to a different location and tried logging in, or his IP address changed. So we even get the IP address from which he tried to log in. This it even gives the impact. It tells you an security impact of this particular event that occurred. So what must have happened is basically Murli tried signing in and his machine's IP address was from Toronto, Canada, and that was something unusual for his user account. So Azure Active Directory picked it up as a risky sign-in event. But as you can see here, that the status of this particular event is closed because multi-factor authentication was provided. So this is another recommendation that I have been talking about this quite a while. I mean, I mentioned this quite a few times in this presentation about multi-factor authentication, or MFA. So MFA basically adds an additional layer of protection to a strong password strategy. Basically, it requires your users to acknowledge a phone call, a text message, or an app notification on their smartphones after they correctly enter their password. So what must have happened in case of Murli is that he must have entered his password correct, and then he got a text message on his mobile phone, on his smartphone, with an OTP, a one-time password, which he had to put in again, and only then he was able to sign in. So the Active Directory picked that up, that okay, so Murli signed in from an unfamiliar location, from an unfamiliar IP address, but he had his phone with him and he successfully logged in with the one-time password. So that's why it automatically went ahead and closed this particular event and did not send any alert to the admins. Of course, you can change these policies based on your organization needs and your business needs, but this is how it works, and it works really well. Wherein you can control, or you can go in and see all the sign-ins of from this particular user account. And as you can see here, if you feel as an admin, if you feel that there is a problem, the best way for this to protect this particular user account, the first step or the first action would be to reset the password of that user. So Azure does give you that option to do it all the way directly from this portal itself. So identity protection is really cool and really good. Of course, you need to have a secure password strategy in place for your entire organization, and also have MFA enabled for all your users. That way, your security is pretty. I would say it would be pretty good. A few other recommendations that we have, of course, I mentioned enabling multi-factor authentication. So that's one. So with MFA in place, what happens is that the Office 365 user accounts will still be protected against any unauthorized access, even if the user's passwords are compromised, right? And the accounts are protected because no access is granted until and unless the account, until and unless the user provides the additional password, or the additional one-time password that he gets on a smartphone. So that way it just gives you an additional layer of security for that particular user account. The next thing is the creating or using the secure mail flow. So basically, if you're using Exchange Online, this actually is something in line with your threat management policies, threat management policy that I discussed earlier. So basically this, if you're using Exchange Online protection, then in that case, you can use this secure mail flow, which basically protects you against any unknown malware or viruses or any malicious payload that has been transmitted in the mail, in a mailbox. You can enable, like we discussed earlier, you can enable anti-spam policies, you can enable anti-malware policies, and even enable your ATP or advanced threat protection policy so that you have so that it checks for your attachments and links in your mail that you're sending inside or outside the organization. Enabling mailbox audit logging. So like we discussed earlier, again, audit logging is actually automatically enabled in your Office 365, but mailbox audit logging is not enabled on its own or by default. So you need to turn it on manually. After you have enabled audit logging, you can search and audit logs in the Security and Compliance Center and find out who logged into your user's mailbox, or who sent which message, or any other activities performed by the mailbox owner or a delegated user or maybe the administrator, right? So you can get a complete log of things like we saw earlier. And the last thing being data loss prevention or DLP. DLP allows you to basically identify any sensitive data and again create policies that can help prevent your users from accidentally or intentionally sharing that sensitive data, right? And DLP works across Office 365 environments. So basically, it includes Exchange Online, SharePoint Online, OneDrive, and so on and so forth, so that your users can stay compliant without interrupting any of their workflows. So so those are basically the recommendations or the best practices for securing your Office 365 environment. Of course, it all depends from business to business or company to company or organization to organization, but these are certain recommended things where you can start off and then you can always build on those policies. So if there are any questions that you guys have, you can always put it in the chat window. I'll be happy to answer them. If you have any doubts, any questions, we obviously help. Cloud9 can help you get things done if you need it. If you already have Office 365 environment and you need us to make it more secure, help you in getting it more secure, we can always help you with that. And if you have any questions regarding what we just discussed, I'll be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Aniket. Any questions, please go ahead and type them in the chat window, or you can speak up. All right, so looks like there are no questions. Yes. All right, so I'll request all our attendees if you can share your email addresses in the chat window. We can send further communication about our upcoming webinars, and we post all our decks and recordings on our Cloud9 website. So you can visit us at cloud9infosystems.com to access the resources. And this recording will also be posted probably in a couple of days. We would be posting it. Coming to our Azure assessments, our Azure assessment, it is a Microsoft and a Cloud9 joint investment. This is a consulting service that is available for your organization, and depending on your company, it may be free, or you may use these hours to get a roadmap to one of the services like Azure migration or SQL upgrade, and also something pertaining to BI and analytics as well. So if you're interested, please email us at c9sales@cloud9infosystems.com, or please feel free to call us as well at 855-225-6839. Or you can always contact us through our website, the contact us page on our website, cloud9infosystems.com. Our next webinar will be on the September 12th, and the topic will be communicated soon. We will be sending out emails regarding the next and the other events following up in September. Thank you for joining us today. we look forward to seeing you in our next session. All of you have a great afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.